News roundup, information overload. We have a snowflake. In case you missed it, to blow up the White House rally from this weekend. That's next.
You know, I could do this all day.
And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything, you. It is the beginning of much needed change.
We have to take over the Democratic Party. We need new leadership. We need young leadership. We need women leadership. We need people of color. We need gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender.
We will not build a stupid wall. And we will not tear millions of families apart. Not on our watch. And we believe that sexism, racism, homophobia, and bigotry have no place in this country. Black lives matter. Diversity makes our country stronger.
Blacks are still in shackles and graves just for being black. Slavery has been reinterpreted as the prison system in front of people who see melanin as animal skin. I am not as nasty as a swastika painted on a pride flag. And I didn't know devils could be resurrected, but I feel Hitler in these streets. A mustache traded for a toupee. Nazis renamed the cabinet. Electroconversion therapy, the new gas chambers, shaming the gay out of America, turning rainbows into suicide notes.
When we elect a possible president, we too often go home. We've elected an impossible president. We're never going home. We're staying together. And we're taking over.
President Trump, I did not vote for you. That said, I respect that you are our president-elect, and I want to be able to support you. But first, I ask that you support me. I ask you to support all women and our fight for equality in all things.
I'm not nasty, like the combo of Trump and Pence being served up to me in my voting booth. I'm nasty, like my blood stains on my bed sheets. We don't actually choose if and when to have our periods. Believe me, if we could, some of us would. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. But I know that this won't change anything.
There you have it, the latest snowflake update from the Women's March this weekend. This montage of Elizabeth Warren, Madonna, Michael Moore, Ashley Judd, Gloria Steinem, and Scarlett Johansson, and what I am describing as the Let's Blow Up the White House rally this weekend. And what's fascinating about this, instead of drawing boos when Madonna said, let's blow up the White House, I've thought about it, and the reference to violence followed her exhorting the crowd, the revolution starts here, and then revealing her explosive inner thoughts, which apparently is now going to be investigated by the Secret Service. But according to the Gateway Pundit, spokesman for the Secret Service said they were not aware of Madonna's comments, will open an investigation. The ultimate decision on whether to prosecute is the decision in the U.S. Attorney's Office. They probably want to turn her into a martyr on the left if, in fact, that happens. I mean, it just never ends, the insanity. D.C. McAllister with The Federalist and PJ Media. Emily Shires, a politics editor at Bustle, and she was at the Women's March. Are you proud of everything you just heard here? Are you proud of Madonna saying F you to detractors? Are you proud of her saying, I've thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House? Are you proud of Ashley Judd?
I certainly don't agree with that sentiment, but I also would say for a march with 500,000 people and over 2.6 million people marching worldwide and no reported acts of violence, they did pretty well.
Okay, listen, I know you have an agenda, but I'm asking you, Madonna, F you to the detractors. I've thought an awful lot of blowing up the White House. Ashley Judd, I'm not as nasty as a swastika painted on a pride flag, saying that I'm nasty like wage inequality. I'm nasty like the bloodstains on my bed sheets. Michael Moore, we have to take over the Democratic Party, etc. He supports Keith Ellison, who's had very radical positions and associations as the DNC chair. or Elizabeth Warren, we won't build a stupid wall and tear families apart, and we have an impossible president. We're taking over, Gloria Steinem says. Are you proud of all this?
No, but I'm not. I don't agree with everything that I said, just in the same way that I would wager most Republicans aren't.
But those are the leaders. Those were your stars.
He grabbed women against their consent.
Those were your stars during your. Those were your stars at your rally.
Party went on. Is recorded on tape for the whole country to hear, bragging about grabbing women's genitals without their consent. I think the reality is we aren't always in agreement with people who are representative of different
So you're going to compare taking over the White House and blowing it up to a stupid comment, locker room talk that was made when he didn't think his mic was on. Excuse me, there are other guests here. D.C. McAllister, what are your thoughts on this?
This march didn't represent women at all. I mean, I just want to get that out there. This is about leftism. It's about statism. This is a liberal march. It's more of the march of Julia's. It's not about women. It doesn't represent women. Pro-life women were shunned from this event. It didn't represent all views. There wasn't true diversity in this crowd. And, you know, the fundamental point, these women were just having a temper tantrum. I mean, that's what I heard from Madonna and Judd and the rest of them. It's just a conga line of babies pitching a fit because they didn't win the election. They didn't have anything of substance to say. They just yelled at people and talked about things that aren't true. They said that we don't have equal rights. We do have equal rights in this country. Women are free. Women aren't beaten down. There are no oppressed classes in this country. So it was just a bunch of propaganda on parade. And it did not represent me. It didn't represent my daughters. It didn't represent the America, the free America, where people have personal responsibility for their personal choices in this country. It didn't represent those of us who believe in those principles.
Well, let me ask Emily this. Emily, I have a question for you. Emily, you got to play ball. This is an interview show. Why were the pro-life groups told they can't attend?
First of all, I actually did see pro-life marchers, and I was very pleased to see that.
Okay, but there were specific groups denied access.
And I personally disagree with that because I do think you need a greater diversity of thoughts. But that was the organizers of the Women's March. Look, I didn't organize the march. I attended as a reporter. And I have to say, though, that you're not.
And by attending, that means that
everybody.
By attending, that means that is some tacit approval, isn't it? Because if you really believed in the rights of all women to march there, including women that disagree with you on abortion, they should have been allowed to march. But you're not going to make a point of excluding them. You don't care.
Well, I have a question. I have a question for Emily, if you'll answer this for me. What I've been hearing from women that I've interacted with about the march is that it's all about this idea that we don't have equal rights, that women aren't treated equally in this country, and that marginalized groups aren't. Well, I have to ask, when did this start? When did this great inequality in America against women begin? Did it begin on Friday? Did it begin 10 days ago? Did it begin a year ago? Did it begin 20 years ago? You know, and if it began just recently, how is that institutionalized? How do we have inequality all of a sudden in this country? And if it's been going on for years, what I want to know from people like you is then why were you not out marching during Barack Obama's reign? Why were you not out with these women with all these pussy hats, which is ridiculous that women have to don representations of their genitalia to make a point? It's objectification that they bring upon themselves. But why weren't they marching under Barack Obama? I mean, when
because
did this
now
great
we have a
inequality happen?
Who's happily bragged about grabbing women without their consent, who has been accused by a slew of women of sexual assault.
So this was all about a tape between two guys.
So to many women, not all. And by the way, women are a beautifully diverse group. Any march is not going to cover all of them.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Did you vote for Hillary?
Did you vote for Hillary? I'm a politics editor, and I actually don't go into who I voted for on the record.
Did you ever write about Hillary Clinton accepting money from Dubai and from the UAE and from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia? Excuse me, can I finish? Yes. And the fact that these countries abuse women and women can't drive and women are told how to dress and they're given or not given permission to go to school or work, and gays and lesbians are killed and Christians and Jews are persecuted. Do you think that Hillary Clinton, by taking money from all those countries, was worse than those words you keep regurgitating about Donald Trump in a locker room moment?
Look, we reported on the Clinton Foundation.
Is it worse? I asked you if it's worse.
You know what? I actually do think it's worse that Donald Trump has
fair answer.
Never apologized for the fact.
You think Donald Trump is worse than taking money from countries that kill gay? Wait a minute. Wait. I misunderstood you. So I want to be clear. So you think it's worse what Donald Trump said in an unscripted locker room moment than taking money from countries that abuse women, kill gays and lesbians, and persecute Christians and Jews? You think that comment's worse than taking money, millions and millions of dollars?
You know what? I don't think they're actually comparable.
Such a cop-out, didn't he, to D.C.?
Yeah, well, that's certainly not comparable at all. I mean, it's a lot worse what's going on in these Muslim countries. And, but one thing I want to point out is that this march is not about anything substantive. It's about ginning up the war on women narrative for a 2020 narrative for those elections, because the left, the Democrat Party, is bankrupt. It doesn't have ideas. It only has propaganda. And this is one big movement of propaganda, and they say it's not going to stop. This is just the beginning, and they're going to get it rolling. And I believe them. They are going to have this rolling for the next 2 years and 4 years, because it's all about this narrative of war on women, which has been a lie from its inception. There is no war on women. There is no oppression in this country. People are free. We have diversity. It's respected. And women need to wrap their heads around where their real rights come from. And it's not from things like this, and it's not from pussy hats. It's from our Constitution and respecting the rights of one another, which we have in this country.
Did you wear one of those hats, Emily?
No, I did not wear one of those hats.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll discuss where this movement is going, and is this going to be the norm for the next 4 years? We'll continue with D.C. McAllister and Emily Shire. Then we'll get to your calls toll free. Final half hour of the program today, 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program.
Ready to repeal and replace Obama's executive orders? Then you've come to the right place. The Sean Hannity Show.
All right, as we continue, Sean Hannity Show, 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. We'll get to your calls in the next half hour, I promise. But we continue our discussion about this, blow up the White House rally that took place over the weekend, and Michael Moore and Elizabeth Warren and Madonna and Ashley Judd and Gloria Steinem and Scarlett Johansson, and F you to detractors of the Women's March, Madonna said. And I thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. And then, of course, you have Ashley Judd comparing, Donald Trump. This is like a swastika, and calling him a Nazi. And I'm nasty like wage inequality. I'm nasty like the bloodstains on my bed sheets. Michael Moore going insane, and so much more. And joining us, Emily Shire. She's the politics editor at Bustle. And D.C. McAllister is with the Federalist and PJ Media. And so is this going to be the next 4 years for you, Emily? Tell me what Donald Trump, what position that you think he's taken, position on an issue that you believe hurts women.
Well, I think the fact that we've elected someone who has been accused by multiple women of sexual assault and never
okay, you now said the same thing 40. Wait.
No,
you said the same thing 40 times. I asked you what position has he ever taken that you think will hurt women's rights?
I don't think this is wrong to point out. The message did have a pro-choice plan.
I know, but once you make it the first 10 times, we got the point. What position does he take that you feel hurts women?
Well, the fact that he wants to appoint several pro-life judges who will overturn Roe v. Wade. He expressed a desire.
And what would that mean for abortion in America? Do you even know?
Yeah, we do know. When women don't have access to abortion,
So you're saying all abortion would be outlawed if Roe v. Wade were overturned?
It would certainly be a lot harder, even when we have Roe v. Wade in place.
Yeah, D.C. McAllister, it's typical fear-mongering of the left. That's not true, D.C., is it?
No, the fact is, and she just said it, I mean, when you press them to the wall, this is just about abortion and about them wanting to keep their right to killing babies. And, as far as overturning Roe v. Wade, it'll be thrown back to the states. So it'll be back to the states where it should be, and people can make on a local level a decision of whether they want to have abortion legal or not. And states can decide, and you can vote with your feet if you don't like it, and you can move to a state where you can kill your babies anytime you want. So it's really about abortion. That's what this is about. It's also about, and I want to point out, it's also about an attack on men, white straight men in particular. I mean, when you listen to that litany of everyone speaking, it's all about everyone but the white straight men, as if somehow they've become evil. And I saw two pictures, two signs of little kids at this rally. And one of them was a little boy holding a sign saying, "Boys will be boys," with boys crossed out and good humans written underneath. And then you had beside him a girl holding a sign saying girl power. So it's okay for girls to talk about their gender and their sex and be praised about, I'm a girl, I'm a woman, I'm a feminist, but boys can't talk about being boys. Why not human power? Why is it girl power, but boys can't be boys? I mean, this is what this is. We have an attack, we have an war, and we're going to have it from now on between the sexes and an oppression. If there's any attacked marginalized class that's coming on the horizon, it's men in this country. And if you don't believe it, just look at real laws that are in place that do attack men. And we need to wrap our heads around this and put a stop to all these celebrities and all this BS that's going on in our country with these women who aren't thinking with their heads, they're thinking with their vaginas, and they need to knock it off.
Give you the last word, Emily. How do you respond to that?
I mean, if you care about abortion rights and protecting women and ensuring that they have control over their bodies, then yes, they are thinking with their vaginas. But I would say to the point that there's a war on men, have you looked at who is our president and his cabinet and representation in Congress? It's dominated by men. I don't think men to be targeted, but I also would say there's no evidence that men have been targeted. Look at the people in power. Your argument completely falls flat.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, but we appreciate both of you being with us. Unbelievable. What a weekend this is. We'll get your reaction to all this when we get back.